That's why they never actually make the band back.
Kyle, does it feel stuffy in here?
Why are you asking me?
Because like the remote is behind you if you want to make it cooler.
Are you saying you want yours turned on?
Well,
That's the TV,
that's
the white
TV.
one.
It's on
The white one's
the,
on
it's
the
mounted on the cabinet.
I think
We gotta specify, we got like,
If you're bored.
I'm lucky to have a table.
what
At
happened?
least they didn't take your chair too.
The librarians hijacked it. I don't know why they would do that when everything is out.
When did that happen? That was there at lunch.
Talk to the person who's on the library board.
Yeah. Let's check into that.
Oh, weird.
Our disappearing tables.
That's gonna be the next meeting. There'll be
Okay.
a request for a new tables for the library.
All right, it's 7:00.
Really?
We'll call our meeting to order. Anybody here for public forum? All right. Have a motion for the consent agenda?
I make a motion for the consent
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
The only little caveat to your claims is we do have an $80, it's a civil service payment to the sheriff's office for a civil service paper related to an agenda item further on down. So if you guys decide not to do that, we will just void that check and cancel it. So, if that makes sense. It's
All right, hearing no discussion, call for a vote on the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. New business, UV project.
Yeah, and could we make a slight adjustment to the agenda? I wasn't 100% sure if we were gonna have the UV project or the pay request. Could we put the pay request right after the UV project discussion?
Sure.
Do that all at the same kind of. Brett won't have to sit here through the whole entire meeting,
Okay,
if we could do that.
that's good. He bills us hourly, you know.
I know he does. I know he does. Have you seen the bills? No, I'm just kidding. Appreciate all the help.
All right, we'll go with UV project then.
All right, good evening. So, we've been working on this UV disinfection, for quite some time, the concept, and what we would like to do. We went through a couple different, scenarios, or the city's gone through a couple different scenarios. This last one, Stantec put together a memorandum that we presented back in May. I'm calling for open channel, UV. As part of that, we did a bunch of different things. We did a colonnaded beam testing so we could size that system, make sure the footprint would work, make sure everything would work, make sure the concept that we were proposing to the city would work. We came back, obviously that did work. We told you that we had a couple months here to kind of, for you guys to talk about funding and what you're thinking about doing going forward with funding. And we said we'd come back here in July with a proposal to start with design and move forward. That's obviously why I'm here tonight. If you look through the proposal, it starts with the project understanding. I think we all understand that we're going for ultraviolet or for UV disinfection instead of the chlorinated gas. It reduces your maintenance costs, it reduces, it's safer, it's just more consistent throughout. Scope of work, we'd start with task one, plan specifications. There's some exterior and existing building control work that needs to be done there. The new UV building would be placed on the south side of the plant. We talked about possibly moving that south fence line south about 10 or 15 feet and getting that building back there. We checked all the elevations, we made sure everything would work. It all does work. Obviously, this new building takes everything. There's going to be electrical, there's going to be mechanical, there's going to be structural, there's going to be architectural, there's going to be wastewater treatment design and site civil design, all in this small building trying to make everything work. But as we go through here, it talks about the different meetings, deliverables, and what this design entails. Task 2 is the MPCA and the Department of Labor and Industry submittals. With any change to your wastewater treatment, you need to go through the MPCA and the permitting process there. We talked about getting a hose bib water access back to that back building, not only for wash down of these UV bulbs and on the racks, but also for just water service on that backside, that south side of the plant. That gets the Department of Labor and Industry involved in it. We have had a couple of preliminary discussions with the MPCA about what type of permit change this would be, whether it be a minor, major, or an in-kind replacement. Of course, there's 3 different people that are going to help make that decision. One said it would be a major, one said it would be either a minor or any kind of replacement. So we need those 3 to get on the same page, but we've started those discussions with them already. Task 3, obviously, when we're all said and done, we would bid this project out and
Just to review that, that's not bringing anything different in, it's just changing what's inside the perimeter as far as the water service and,
yeah, right now your water service is in your front works building, and the water service, the hydrant, is actually in the northwest corner of the site. We want to get water service back to that building so that you can take these UV bulbs up on racks, wash them down, drop them back in for service. And the operators would like water service in that back area.
yeah. So I don't, why does that involve the DOL? Because,
Because the Department of Labor and Industry is involved in any water service within the public property. We dealt with them, what, a
Yep.
year ago or so?
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
Obviously, task 3 is bidding services. After that, we would come back with the public bid results and look for moving forward. Future phases would be obviously construction services, stuff like that. I think on page 4 here, we have a proposed schedule. Notice to proceed for design services would be following the presentation of this proposal. Design kickoff meeting in August, along with site survey, geotech, soil borings. There's going to be 1 boring that's necessary, and that's going to be at the location of this building. That's going to be about 30-foot soil boring. So in order to get that taken care of, we may have to take down part of the fence to get their drill rig back there. But I think that's something that we can kind of coordinate with staff and probably get taken care of. October would be 60% plan review, 90% plan review in November, submittal to the MPCA and DOLE in December. Hopefully they get that completed, their review in February, and get our permits back and advertise for bids in February, bid it in March, and start work. It is a major change. It's a very good change and a major change for your wastewater treatment plant operations. When this is all said and done, you're going to see a very small building that does a very large task. And ultimately, like I said, this small building is going to take electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, structural engineers, an architect, site civil engineer, and your wastewater treatment plant operation engineer. So it's a lot of people working on a very important small footprint building. Estimated fee is $140,630. It would be in compliance with our terms and conditions of our professional services agreement. With that, I will answer any questions you guys might have.
That's the fee through the whole project or just this,
It's the design fee.
just the design fee?
Yeah, design through bidding. The only thing left there would obviously be the construction services on the back end. But yeah, those construction services, it would likely be myself or someone from our Stantec Rochester office doing the site civil inspection, as well as the rebar placement, concrete pours, stuff like that. But we would have startup services that need to happen with our electrical engineers and mechanical engineers. But they would be pulled down for special inspections only.
Okay. All right, anybody have any questions? So we need a motion for the notice to proceed.
I'll make a motion to proceed.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And that includes approval of the contracting bid for the services. All right, hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item, item G here is the 2024 street utility improvement project pay request number 2. Just a quick update, there was a large water shutdown today. During that shutdown, the contractor was able to isolate that whole main on the east side of Trunk Highway 52, all the way down to the golf course, isolate and kill the old main. Everybody else is temp on there, the water's back up, everybody's got water service, but now they can work within that corridor without paying the live water main. Tomorrow morning, you'll see the utility crew putting in services on the Quick Trip side of Highway 52, as well as the utility crew putting in water main on the golf course side of 52. Move forward. Rain has been slowing them down. The production has not been very good. We do have 2 utility crews in town, and they're starting to get a little bit of speed behind them. So, pay request number 2 is in front of you. The project was for $1.497 million. So far, they've completed about $180,000. Last pay request, the city paid them $40,000, $40,686.40. So with our 5% retainage, the pay request calls for payment to the contractor of $130,000, $964.12.
I'll make a motion to approve pay request 2.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Are they saying that they're slow because of the rain? Or are they just saying that, I mean, is that kind of what's keeping it
I'm saying
behind?
that they've been slowed down by the rain. I'm not saying that they're slow because of the rain.
That's good. Gotcha.
The heat might have affected them if they were working yesterday. That was terrible. All right, hearing no further discussion, call for a vote on pay request number 2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
All right, we'll do Rolling Hills Transit.
Mr. Mayor, can I distribute a little bit of information?
Certainly.
We like information. Oops.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come in and speak a little bit. I don't know how much information you have. I'm a brand new Director of Transportation for SEMCAG Transportation, which includes Rolling Hills Transit, which is your public transit system that you have in Harmony. You might not even known you had a transit system in Harmony, and that's why I'm here. I don't know at what level you're at. So I'll just kind of give you a brief overview of who I am and where I come from. Have extensive experience in government work. Was a law enforcement officer for 31 years. Retired from there. Didn't get enough of public service, so I served as mayor for the city of St. Charles for 10 years. So I still wasn't good enough there, so I spent 8 years in a high school doing substance misuse prevention. I did get involved in transportation about 14 years ago and kind of dabbled with that over the years and kind of worked my way up to the current position I have. I do believe public transit is one of those things that's something that's very important for outstate Minnesota. So this is an opportunity for us to take advantage of a public transit system. So I'll just start with this little nugget of information inside your packet there. It just kind of gives you a chance to see how many transits there are in the state of Minnesota. Basically, public transit covers the entire state of Minnesota. So outside of the metro area, Rochester, some of the bigger communities that have their own transit, there's several little transit agencies that cover the entire state of Minnesota. Our transit covers five counties in southeastern Minnesota. It goes all the way down to Harmony, Minnesota, all the way up to St. Charles, over to Casson, Dodge Center area, and then all the way over to Caledonia. As you can see, we have 11 different communities that we have a bus stationed in. We have 13 buses. A couple of communities have 2 transit buses because of the service that we provide. I did notice when I started my position that the name of the bus was Chatfield Harmony. I thought that was kind of interesting that it was called Chatfield Harmony because that's a pretty big service area going from all the way from Chatfield to Harmony, Minnesota. But one of the things that I did learn is that the bus is stationed in Preston. That's where it's stored. It's stored at the fairgrounds. So that made a little bit more sense. So it's kind of halfway between both of those communities. Generally, they serve a lot of students in the Preston area. I did pull some stats on Harmony. It was less than 20 individuals that utilize the service. And I probably strike that up as just a lack of knowledge, right? A lack of knowledge that this even exists. So the one thing I did also include in there is some statistics. Obviously, you can tell just by the statistic that I gave you that Harmony is less than 20. But here's what the Chatfield Harmony bus did do last year. It serviced about 3,000 passengers in the area between Harmony and Chatfield, including Preston. Just this the second quarter, we're almost right on track to be almost identical to last year. We serviced 1,500 passengers the second quarter with 159 passengers just in the month of June. So what does the transit offer? I think one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize is that this is an opportunity for a number of individuals to utilize and to get from here to there or wherever to the grocery store or into a larger community, Preston, to do their business. So one of the things that I did when I was the mayor is I actually cut this service. So, it kind of gives you some idea of a lack of knowledge and what lack of knowledge does. I did reinstate it after a few years of learning exactly what public transit is and what it does for our community. When I started driving, I became a little bit more aware of what public transit does. And an individual in St. Charles, she was telling me that she was paying over $100 to get to her medical appointments. So I'm sure that there's individuals in the community of Harmony that also experience some of those things as well. Just to give you an example, that same lady hopped on our public transit for $12 and got up to the Bell Clinic to have her service done. So what I'm hoping for is when I was on the council, we were kind of the loudspeaker of the community. We kind of had a lot of people. We had a vast network. So I'm hoping that with tonight's appearance, that maybe we can bring a little more awareness and get those numbers a little bit higher than 20 in the city of Harmony. A lot of seniors utilize our service in other communities. A lot of them use it from their house to their grocery store or whatever to stay independent. And that's one of the services that we provide even in one of our communities, Stewartville. We have a Friday senior day that goes to the grocery store. We have about 10 to 12 seniors that are able to hop on our bus and go into the grocery store. So kind of what my purpose here tonight was just to kind of share what our service is all about, open it up to any questions that you may have about our service, and just raise awareness of public transit in Harmony, Minnesota.
Yeah, I think to use the service, then people call in a couple days ahead of time.
Thank you for reminding me. That's one thing I forgot. It is a on-demand service, so it does require a phone call. We do not have established routes, so you just call an 800 number, and I'm going to leave you a slug of brochures here that you can distribute at your will. But basically, the person calls in at least 24 hours in advance, reserves a ride on one of the buses, and they will take you from here to there, make the full connection. Your route actually ends about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. However, we do have buses from other areas that sometimes cross over other service areas. So we do have, like in the Caledonia area, the Casson area, the St. Charles Doriota, those go till 5 o'clock. So there is a chance that, if there's an off chance that somebody needed a ride later in the day, that it would possibly be able to give. The one thing that I will say, Mr. Mayor, is that even though we have that 24-hour notice, if you call up and say, hey, I need to get to the IGA store or whatever, there's a possibility there might be an opening on the bus, right? Especially in the summertime, I'll tell you that there's a lot of openings on the bus in the summertime. We haul a lot of preschool kids and a lot of seniors on our bus. And all of our buses come with lifts, so disabilities. Everyone is able to ride our buses, so we encourage the use as much as we possibly can.
In the bus, is it a van type bus?
So what we have is, we're just taking delivery of brand new buses, and actually I'm soliciting funds to help us do the offset. We are funded 95% by MnDOT on the operating. So our $1.9 million of operating, so all the personnel, the drivers, those types of things, is on a 95-5 split. However, our buses are on an 80-20 split, so we have to come up with a 20% match. A lot of times we go to the communities to help us reach that match. So we just took delivery of 6 new buses. We have 13 buses in our fleet for service. So we got almost half of them already replaced. We got 3 more on the way. In fact, the bus for Chatfield Harmony is one of our newest buses that we have. So you get a 22 passenger bus that can haul up to 3 wheelchairs. So it is a full-size bus. We will be transitioning in some of the routes down to vans. Those are the 10 passenger vans that can haul 2 wheelchairs as well. So kind of those larger transit vans, if you can picture those.
And your fare rates is $2 within town, $6 over 8 miles anywhere within the system.
Correct. So if you want to go anywhere within this community of Harmony, it would be $2. I didn't run the mileage between here and Preston. I think it's 15, isn't it?
Yeah.
Between us and Preston. 11.
Can be less.
It's 11.
It's 11.
11.
Yeah, to downtown.
Okay.
Downtown.
11.
You just have to document it.
Just a little bit over that 8 miles. So yes, it would be $2 for anything within the community, and then $6 within over that 8 mile range.
Even to Rochester or something.
Yes, and what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to do like a 1 day a week run. We have been exploring that. We've had a number of requests from the Preston area as well. And all of you know that that's a heck of a jaunt into Rochester from here. So what we would like to do is see if we can come up with 1 day a week. We already do that in the Byron area. We make a trip into Owatonna, which is not quite as far as the distance that you have into Rochester, but it is a substantial distance. And every 2 weeks, we make that run into Owatonna for a number of seniors that take that. So I'd love to work with the mayor and the clerk to see if we can come up with a possible day that we could, run into Rochester and do whatever. we can run into Rochester, we just can't run around Rochester. So we could make a drop off like at Walmart or the Mayo Clinic, but we couldn't pick somebody up at Walmart, take them to the Mayo Clinic, and then bring them back home. That would have to be Rochester Transit. So we would get.
And so to get to Rochester and back, is that $6 or is
Yes, so that would be a $12 run. That would be a $12 run. So, yeah. And we'd love to see if we can put something together. And obviously, if we can fill a bus of 22 people, then it becomes very cost efficient for us to do that. So, something that we really would like to look at, especially in Harmony here.
I'm guessing it probably makes sense to get the information out, maybe a survey kind of thing. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, and we're doing that in other communities in the system to try to evaluate what are some of the other areas. We're doing a commuter survey in the Byron and Hassan and St. Charles and Dover Yoda areas to try to gauge interest. One of the things that we lost during COVID, as you probably know, is all of the commuter buses. So what we're doing is we're looking at the possibility of looking at, what are the potential possibilities of bringing back something like that, similar like that. It would be a little bit different, or a little bit more difficult for us down here. We'd have to actually put a whole new bus on, and I'm not sure if that would be something that we could do, but nothing's out of the realm of possibilities for sure.
Just having prior experience with transportation, thinking outside the box here, engaging public health. I mean, I know, that might be somewhere we want to start. And just even our apartment complexes, as far as like a community, have these posters and things been hung up in our local apartment complexes or senior housing, or no? Or is it something
I have a bad feeling this is probably the first time that maybe somebody's come down to Harmony to talk about.
I was going to say that would be, I could see someone who was older taking a bus up there, maybe Rochester Transit around a couple of places. So they could go up, you dropped off, they took Rochester Transit, as long as they met you back at the same place.
They don't even have to meet us at the same place.
Or they can just still hop on really anywhere just to come home in the afternoon.
Yep, so what we've
Okay.
done in other communities is like we will drop people off at Walmart.
Mhm.
And then they will use the Rochester Transit system
Mhm.
and maybe end up at the Mayo Clinic or maybe end up at Target or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, drop us off at Walmart, pick us up at Target, or pick us up at the Mayo Clinic or
Mhm.
Olmsted Medical or wherever that may be. So we could do things like that. We just can't do the.
Yeah, because they have their own transit system. Yeah.
Right.
hmm
That's also funded by MnDOT.
Right. Yeah. You can't step on it.
Few regulations there.
Yeah,
right?
and you don't want to step on anyone else's toes, but
Exactly. Yeah, we'd love to see if we could set up something like that where, maybe one day a week or one day every other week, where we could make a run into Rochester from Harmony. And, we certainly can look at our partners at Rochester Transit to see, what options they have as well. They have a fairly good local transit, so.
would I, years and years and years ago, I rode a Mayo commuter bus. And, and back then you could pay a fee, even if I was just wanting to go shopping, I could hop on the bus, pay my ridership fee to there, and then ride up and then ride back. Is that something really anyone, even like, let's say Amish community, or just, let's say I physically could not, drive that day and I didn't have anyone to take me.
Yeah.
Do I have to be a certain age?
No,
It's
anybody
just
can
really
ride.
anyone.
Yeah, in fact, we had two
It's
drivers.
not like just a preschool program that you have, like for a school age child care
Yeah.
program or something that you're helping out with, but
And one of the things we're trying to do is rebrand ourselves
Okay.
with the Anybody Can Ride slogan.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure that anybody is able to, access our services, because it is public transit. In fact, we had two drivers that called in sick today, and I kept my bus license, so guess what I get to do today? I drove a little bit of bus today, and one of the clients was a middle-aged man who works in Rochester and commutes, utilize our service, and I gave him a ride home. So he works at, Home Depot, and he said he's been doing this for months. So it's kind of neat that somebody's actually using that as their mode of transportation. So, we do transit, for a lot of individuals, whether it's taking them to work or medical appointments and things like that. So, yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for people to use.
I was just thinking if my car broke down, I really needed to make a Target run,
Well, the thing that really worked out well for me
it
is
just happens.
when I get my oil changed, right?
Oh, sure, yeah,
Um,
sure.
And I used to sit at the dealership for an hour and a half, and now I hop on the bus, and $2 later, I'm back at my house and doing whatever I want to do. And then whenever I want to go pick up my car, I hop back on the bus and go to the dealership to pick up my car. So there's a lot of different things that you could use it for, and I just think that the $2 is just so reasonable. The one last thing I'll leave you with is that I'm very fortunate. I'm sure some of you are very fortunate too. And I have 2 cars that sit in my garage, and I can go anywhere I want, anytime I want, any day of the week I want. There's a lot of individuals that we transport that do not have that opportunity. So I guess I would love to have you think of the individuals in your community that maybe don't have a license or can't drive anymore. I can think of one in Stewartville. A lady goes visits her husband who's in the nursing home 3 days a week, and without our service, she would not be able to get there. So you maybe know some shut-ins here in Harmony that are in that same boat. We offer a lot of different alternatives. They can use cash, they can use a pass, and if you're really tech savvy, you can use our transit app. We're looking to expand that transit app so you could do a full ride, so you could schedule your ride on Rolling Hills Transit, and then you'll be able to schedule your rides in Rochester, all with one little stroke of the keyboard. And then if you really get creative, you could even go to Rochester, Jefferson Lines and hop on the Jefferson Lines and go wherever you want it. So that's on the horizon. That's coming. Right now, we just have the app that can schedule your ride with Rolling Hills Transit, pay, and all that stuff. But we use still the traditional ways to pay, cash, or like I said, you can do a pass. I'm working with some of the grocery stores. Hopefully we'll be able to work with yours as well. Where we're going to see if we can get return rides paid for by the grocery store for seniors. So when they go shop, they pay for the ride to get there, but the grocery store, somebody at businesses will give you a ride back home. I think that's a great way to encourage local business owners to have residents come to their facilities. So hopefully we can start a program like that somewhere to the ones that we have in the works. Other communities.
All right, I see you enclosed a sample resolution.
I did. I gave him everything. I gave him everything.
Yeah,
I didn't hold anything
What
back.
are other communities doing? And then I think, we would obviously want to get a survey out there and kind of see what, or like you said, you have the numbers of what's being used, and it's like,
that's the bad thing about, being a former mayor. I kind of know about these resolution things and all that kind of thing. So we have a wide range. We have one community that's pledging $2,500 a year for the next 5 years. We have several other communities that are doing lump sum. One as high as $40,000. They're helping us purchase the bus. Just to give you an idea of what a bus costs. You probably know because you work with a lot of other things, but the buses that we took delivery of in December cost us about $93,000. The buses that we just took delivery of last month, about $114,000. The buses that we're going to take delivery of in the fall are $149,000. And then the one bus that I just ordered was $193,000. And the 3 buses that I'm going to be ordering in the fall are $239,000 a piece. So it's just craziness of what's happening with transportation. However, so what I've done is I've just kind of put all of them, because it wouldn't be fair to make that community that has the $239,000 bus pay the 20% of that. So we just kind of lumped them all together and just came up with an average. About 30,000 is what our cost is to put a bus on the road. So what we're trying to see is if communities can help us with that infrastructure. The operating is something that we take care of through fares. We're able to come up with that 5%. But it's really tough for us to come up with that infrastructure for the buses, and that's what we're asking the communities. What I was going to ask the community, the smaller communities, is somewhere between $500 and $1,000 a year for assistance for public transit. What does that entail? That just entails, having that service available to your citizens. Obviously, you're going to get it if you don't pay the $500 to $1,000. You're still going to service your community. It just helps me sleep at night, so I don't have to look for funds otherwise. But yeah, that's just a way that you can actually help promote it in your community. I always feel that if the community is invested in some way, whether it's word, just spreading the word or financially, sometimes you'll have a much more successful.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What,
Appreciate that.
anybody else have any questions before you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Yep.
I did also include the 10 reasons you want transit. So if you want to take a look at those too, that should have been in front of your resolution.
It is, it
I
is,
just start with
it
positive.
is right in front of the resolution.
It's all in there.
Thank you very much. Have a
Okay.
great day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
May I leave some brochures?
Yes, please. Yep. You can just leave a stack right there on the table or on the counter there, and
I got Spanish as well.
perfect.
All right. We'll continue on with the nuisance review.
Yes. I gave you a small little background of the 20 nuisance letters sent this year. After the secondary review, there's only really 4 properties that have not been remedied. And give you your ordinance and some of the properties that we are having in some various photos of properties that we're having some issues with. The 2 homes do have a contractor contacted to have them for it to be taken down. One is still very full of furniture. Actually, I think both of them have quite a bit of furniture and things in them. One is the cost. It's costly to take it down. But one really just needs paint. I think that's in the works. It just has not been completed.
But the one that needs to be taken down should have been taken down quite a while ago.
Correct. It's,
Yeah.
I found other prior letters, like as far back as 5 years.
And it wasn't taken down then,
Mm-mm.
so that should,
Is it largely costly because of asbestos?
Yeah, the first one, yeah,
That slate siding.
the
is
slate siding,
asbestos-
the special
asbestos.
disposal.
Yeah.
Yep. But, had some communication, not a whole lot. That, the front door, with the weeds being grown over, and then the inside door is open. I mean, it's just an opportunity with all the broken windows and the issues for rodents and various critters to just make habitat, you know. Yeah, I had 4 on here. There's actually one I think that I had communication with in between. I just didn't put any photos in of that one. But there's a remedy for that one at least to be sold.
I can give the legal context if you want it. So the efforts to date, I believe, have just been considered voluntary, urging people to
Correct.
clean things up so they don't become a problem. I think now you're being asked, do you want to start the formal process on these particular properties? Which still doesn't happen quickly. But
No,
if you decided to send them a notice, if you thought, yep, these look bad, we got to do something, send them a notice. That gives them a chance to show up at the next council meeting to object if they feel that they shouldn't be considered a nuisance.
they would have a hearing
Yeah.
basically
Right.
next
So-
council meeting.
So they've already got one letter, but we're talking about sending a second letter that would start the traditional formal process.
I guess my question is with Sam, that one that's 5 years old, do we have to do that process on a 5-year-old
Yes.
property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you still have to go
Even
through,
if-
even though,
Yeah. I don't know whether they've ever done a public
There
hearing
was-
on it, but even if they had,
It was
there's a
just
good
the-
argument to say
Yeah.
you abandon that effort and you're starting over.
Because there's been, that property's been sold multiple times too.
that
So
owner that's had it now, though, has had it for
over a year.
over a year. They've had it for, well, they had it back when we did our last
Mhm.
one, so it's been over, yeah. Okay. Okay. That's the process that you go though, it would still have to come,
Yeah. If you guys endorsed it,
Yeah.
city would send a letter saying, heads up, you're on the agenda basically next month.
Basically, we're deeming it a nuisance
You
at
de-
this
yeah.
step
Correct.
and notifying them of that, and then they have the right to appeal, basically.
Well, you're
Formally.
you're not deeming it a nuisance tonight. You're saying
No.
they're on your radar. And at the next meeting after you have the hearing, that's when you'd make your decision of, do you call it a nuisance and carry on with the remedies available to you? Yep.
And the council action says destruction order and abatement of noxious weeds.
That's a
That's a
different one.
separate-
Okay, that's separate.
That's the next one.
Okay.
I'm in favor of moving forward with these 3.
So my question is if we move forward and we come to the public hearing and we do all that, if you take the final step, which would be us abating the nuisance.
So the usual outcome of the public hearing, if you decide it is in fact a nuisance, is you give them a final timeline to fix it. Hopefully you have their attention by then and you give them the 15 days or 30 days or 45 days or whatever comes of that dialogue. And then if they still don't fix it, then that's when usually the cities would be left with the only real option just to take care of it themselves, which still doesn't mean just showing up on their property the next day. That's when we'd have to get the court involved and go get a search warrant or a warrant basically to enter the property. and
Administrative
abate-
warrant.
Yeah, to abate the nuisance. So these are always challenging issues because they're irritating to the public and to us. And then it's difficult to force our way into private property to deal with it. And the reward for that is the city spends time and money fixing it too, which you could assess to the property taxes. And if you get lucky, those are paid. But you may never recoup that either if people aren't paying the taxes on the property. So there's some scenarios where it's just money spent cleaning up the community, never recouped. So
so would we have to pay if it ever came to it to the point of taking a house down?
Yes.
Or would we, okay, so we would,
It's at the
That's
city
where,
expense.
that's where it becomes complicated. And if we can get them to do it through this process, we're better off. I think, at least my opinion is if we can, through the EDA or the city, address some of that and say, hey, we'll give you a grant for X amount of dollars to help take it down, so that we don't have to incur, we may
All of
incur
it.
more cost by not doing that and having to take it down ourselves than we would if we did that, if they followed through. So. I agree moving forward. It's just, I want everybody to be on the same page that it could cost us, if we go all the way through this, it could cost us a substantial amount through court fees and demolition and all of that, so.
Yep,
I,
and the time it takes.
and I agree, especially with legal fees. But if all these letters were sent and then everyone else is spending their own money doing these things, we're simply giving grants for those who choose not to
Exactly.
listen.
Yeah.
Which is-
But, so you would give a grant to not, I mean, you would pay the contractor that takes it down. We wouldn't just give them the money to take it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
It's-
get it.
it's- To me, it's more beneficial. And then we don't own the property and we don't,
Well, I think
it's
if,
saleable and it's that kind of stuff.
my opinion is if we took something, if we paid for the total destruction and other people, one or two of them take care of it themselves and one or two of them don't, we should own the property that we pay for. Doesn't that make
I
sense?
see where you're coming from, but then is the lot saleable? You know what I mean? Do you have $30,000 into the lot and you're not gonna get $30,000 out of it? It's a $15,000 lot.
Well, the other option is we're gonna put 30,000 into it and
I'm
get
not
nothing
saying-
out of it.
I'm not saying put $30,000 into, I'm saying not necessarily give them the full amount for destruction, just a portion to help them out.
We talked to DDA about this exact issue about what's the carrot approach to try to solve some of these rather than the stick approach,
Correct.
like was right before us. And that's something we hope to talk more about at upcoming meetings, about is there a way to design a successful program that is a win-win, solves nuisances, but yet can get these properties redeveloped, perhaps with a new house or in the hands of people who are going to care for them. So I think that's something I was excited to talk about the EDA and hope we can talk more about, but it's a bigger issue than what's right here. But you're right to point out that sending these letters and having this discussion come up at the next month's meeting is still just the next step. And then there'll be a couple more if people don't feel the inspiration to jump in action. So.
And from the EDA standpoint, it was that is acquisition of that property at some level, it felt like, which,
That's what we were talking about was,
yeah.
is there a scenario where some of these people would sell it to us and we fix the problem and resell it? That relies on having willing sellers, and there might not be any out there, but if there were, maybe that's a way to flip some of these properties into productive tax use again someday.
And the only problem is if we own it, we're not paying taxes on it. We have to resell it quickly to recoup our cost, so. Just a discussion item. But
Do we know if these properties are currently up to date in their taxes?
The current.
They're current,
Mhm.
so, okay. Well, yeah, anybody have a motion? What motion are we looking for? A motion to proceed forward with these four
it would be,
properties?
yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
actually, there's only just three. There's
Three?
just the three.
Three?
Sorry.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? So this is going to generate letters to them and
Another letter and then notify them of there will be a notice of hearing at the next meeting.
Okay, good.
So that they'll be summoned basically to come before council to tell what their
intentions
their
are.
ideas are and, and discuss timelines for each one.
Okay.
Who knows, you never know. I mean, it might be remedied within that time frame too, so.
Well, they should.
Hopefully. You never know.
All right.
We can get lucky.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, we'll call a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and then this other one is the nuisance destruction order. This property has been surveyed actually as by the Fillmore County Feedlot Ag Inspector, State Ag Inspector, who has confirmed the Japanese knotweed. I think we talked about it last month a little bit. Property owner was going to come, but did not show. These noxious weeds still have not been taken care of. And there is, in our ordinance, a destruction we have to give them a notice of destruction. And then that abatement has to occur within 7 business days. This noxious weed in particular has a certain kind of process. I was talking with Craig and had him review the letter. I gave him some resources. There'll be many attachments from the state, as well as, of course, our ordinance, on how to abate the process properly, or the nuisance properly. There's quite a process to these Japanese knotweeds so that they don't spread. It's something that cannot be disposed of in our brush dump because they do spread so quickly.
Can goats eat it? I see some people have done
They
that.
can eat buckthorn. I'm sure they probably could eat this stuff.
Goes in, comes out somewhere though.
Right? Is it
Well,
still seeds or?
that's the thing you run the risk of, right?
It's refertilizing it.
Right. But we have received a formal complaint from neighbors. I believe there is a vehicle back there as well that is inoperable, which I have pictures from last year. You can see it, but not everything, because this is such a fast growing weed. Not everything is covered. So lots of insects and issues back there.
So, but this would be separate. This would just be dealing with
Just
all the weeds.
Just the weeds. Yeah.
Just the weeds, yeah.
Just the weeds. It is on the noxious weed list for the state of Minnesota. It does have to be eradicated and dealt with if we find it. So
And this is the only one in the premise in Harmony that we're aware of.
that we're aware of. Yeah.
And has there been any communication from the owner?
No. Well, I shouldn't say no. Other than they wanted to come to the council meeting last month and then did not show. I have not heard anything since.
But they have talked to the ag inspector.
They have talked to the ag inspector and they are made very aware.
So if we approve this, what does the timeline look like and the steps look like?
So what would happen next is I have that letter ready to go tomorrow. The letter and all the attachments will go with our deputy in the check. They'll create the civil service papers and they will be served as soon as the deputy is able to serve. And then once that paper service is done, it's 7 business days from the date of service that destruction must be done. Or we have the ability to go in and abate it, and then they are responsible for that abatement.
And do we have someone lined up ourselves or to do that?
I have contacts, professionals that can come in to do that. The ag inspector is willing to help us out with getting the proper abatement done.
I'll motion to proceed with the civil service of destruction order and abatement of noxious weeds at this property.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. And then Personnel Committee, Karen Apenhorst. Or
Do you want to go over E, or do you want to jump right to the end? Or?
we can go with E. Sorry to hear of your resignation request.
Sam has handed in her resignation letter. So we met with her a little bit and then also with Karen today.
But I guess we should approve the request to advertise and approve the ambulance director.
As I say, I'm not going very far because the ambulance director part I still will keep. I don't have anyone knocking down my door willing to take that job over, but I do love that part of my job. So it will be still something they'll still come in front of the council with. We do have an ambulance that needs replacement soon, so I'll be coming coming in for a request with that soon, but,
Well, I'll make that with one motion to accept your resignation, put in the advertisement for new clerk administrator. We talked about that. We're putting in for 32 hours. And approve the ambulance director pay of 1,000 monthly.
Do we know what other towns are paying monthly for this director? Or is there any towns that have just a director that's not a clerk too, or?
I checked with Preston, that's actually a full-time.
it's a full-time
Preston
position.
full-time. I checked with Mabel. They're just their own director.
Full-time? Or-
Is that pay in line with that?
It was,
Spring Valley has 3 directors, Rushford has a full-time director, Chatfield has a full-time director. We are, actually, us and Mabel are the only ones that don't have full-time.
and she's just, I mean, they're,
We just do it on our, we do it on our off time. We have another job and then we do it on our off time. So Harmony and Mabel are kind of unique outliers for the whole county, I'll be very honest.
Yeah.
Spring Valley is its own unique outlier because they're pushing 600 calls a year. So, but we'll probably surpass the 250 mark if we continue on the path that we're going. So,
And Preston services 2 communities or larger area and
and
has 2 ambulances or 3 now.
3 with Wayne.
3 with Lanesboro,
3 lane,
2 in
3
Preston and 1 in Lanesboro.
3 ambulances too. So
And will this be like a pay scale now going forward? Like 10 years from now, Sam's not director, will that be like the next director that comes in, same rate, or is this what we're paying, or?
would guess, but it can change over time, obviously. But based on, Sam was presenting how much time she expects to spend at that, so.
Very similar to, pick out Jesse here, very similar to what the gambling manager would spend a week, probably twice a week, do report reviews. And similar to the gambling manager does the gambling audits and does that stuff, in audit schemes and different things, about twice a week. I will still teach, Jesse will still teach, all of our CPR classes, fire departments, pediatrics for our daycares, the school, none of that would really change.
Those get billed out by the city, but we get the
Yeah,
money
we-
from the
Get paid through the service. That
other
way the
service, yep.
City bills it out. So I would just fill out like a claim request or like how fire does for their fire calls. We'll submit a bill to have that billed out to the different individuals that do utilize our services. So just working a little different.
So one more question, just because as long as I've lived here and how this has worked is it's been clerk and director, same position. Now that that's getting split up,
It was deputy clerk and an ambulance director. So utility billing clerk and the ambulance director, or the finance clerk and the ambulance
okay,
director.
but now that that's gonna be no more, right?
Mhm.
How is the director in the future gonna get chosen?
The ambulance usually,
So it'd be an ambulance membership?
you have to, by state EMSRB requirements, have to be certified as an EMT to be a director. So you can't, you just,
But how would that go? I mean, would you guys have like a meeting and then all of a sudden somebody'd say like, well, I'd like to have director, and you guys would discuss that at a meeting, or is that a
make
city?
a recommendation to the city, like you do your fire chief.
But we would hire
That's,
them,
that's
yeah.
my question.
Yeah.
right?
Yep, like you would do your fire chief.
Okay.
It would probably be a little bit different just because you have to have the certain qualifications and
Yeah.
going to, but yeah. It
You
would
have to, I mean,
be voted on both sides. It'd be voted on the ambulance service and then it would come to council for final.
And I don't know if we should be, but we've never had, we've just been made aware of the new EMTs that come on the service. We haven't officially hired them like we have the firefighters.
no,
That's
Yeah.
probably something that should be in the
we could do, we can do
process,
that.
that we
going
get the
forward.
list and of any new ones, and then the city would approve it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit different because they take the class.
National Register,
before.
we take the class beforehand versus firemen get put on and then take a class.
Mhm.
So you have to you have to get fingerprinted and pass a background check to even sit for the exam or for even the class. So there's a lot of,
But now we do pay for that.
yeah, we've always
Ahead of
paid for it. Yeah, we've always paid for that.
Well, we have a clause in there if they don't.
If they hadn't
they-
Performed,
you can-
we'd claw it back.
Yes, yep, for non-performance, yep. We do have that.
Is it a 1 year?
1 year commitment. Yep. Yeah, we can change it however the council sees fit.
Nope, I don't think we need to reinvent anything right now. This is
You
a
are
good
up.
step. You'll be ambulance director for many, many years.
Well, we'll see.
Any more discussion on that motion? Did somebody second that?
No.
All right, well, that was my motion to advertise for the new director, approve the ambulance director pay, and accept the resignation.
A second.
All right, now we have motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Anybody abstaining?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. Jesse abstains. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Then Personnel Committee met in a 6-month review for Karen Appenhorst. And we have a proposal. And what were we doing? We're moving her up one step.
Mhm. It'll be grade 3, step 3.
Grade 3.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the Personnel Committee 6-month review and pay increase for Karen. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Building and maintenance, any reports there?
No.
We
Well, yeah, we did have. the-
have a waterway issue. A sinkhole has opened up behind the fire hall.
I see there's some dirt piled there. I don't know.
Yep.
Tom came in.
Tom did come in. It opened up. I got a report on it last Friday. He was mowing the waterway over there and
Okay.
noticed there was it's like, oh,
It's in the ditch?
it's in the
Yeah,
waterway.
It's in the waterway
and
behind the
he-
fire hall.
behind the fire hall.
Oh, okay.
And he
between
noticed
field.
that the water hadn't been flowing south further, and then he got up closer and he said, yeah, had I not moved and stopped mowing, it's big enough for a tractor. It's about 8 feet deep and 10, 12 feet wide.
Oh.
So we've had enough.
Well, good.
Tom stopped in.
Should put it on the
Tom's-
historic register.
We got another cave in town.
Tom stopped in yesterday and was gonna put some clay in the bottom, and he said he's filled in like 2 or 3 other similar ones in that same waterway. So he wasn't surprised. He said over the years they have opened up in that waterway. So he was just gonna put some clay in there and do that. Otherwise, I think
Okay.
can't think of anything else.
Well, we had the
Oh,
screener bar break and they had to pump out the clarifier.
the
and
clarifier, the primary clarifier, that is fixed.
As far as
No.
I know, it's fixed.
Um,
So,
yeah, that was last
right around the 4th of July.
July 3rd it broke.
Yep.
So, a few little mishaps. We have the proper council reports for May and June. And I think May was, I think February or something like that. He just grabbed the wrong file.
Last year.
Last year,
Last year.
before.
Yeah, it was May of 23. So
All right. EDA board? Any business we have to conduct?
no, you have 2 months of minutes though, because June meeting coincided very similarly to Chris was leaving for a fishing trip, so he was in meetings and out of town, so he included 2 months of meetings.
All right. Harmony Chamber, you have anything to report?
Sure. We had the 4th of July.
Yeah, check.
That went well, the weather.
Yeah.
We have our next Back Alley Jam this Thursday. Greg and Matt from Main Street Harmony are playing, so. that's
It's supposed to be good weather.
Supposed to be good weather, yeah. The chamber is taking part in the Showcase Your City at the Fillmore County Fair on Friday, so we'll be there to say hi. National Night Out is August 5th, I believe.
Sixth, I think.
Sixth, yep, so that'll be here. We did hire a part-time assistant for the summer, so she is already a volunteer, so.
Golf tournament.
Oh, yeah, golf tournament, we had that, thanks. Yeah.
The weather cooperated for that too.
Yeah, it's been a very busy week, and continues to be. So we had our golf tournament, that went well. Next year we'll try and have some more games for you all, so some more fun out there, but I think.
Mhm. Good. Park board,
Didn't meet.
okay. Library board,
Library board reviewed some materials and shelf books where they were deemed appropriate by the publishers and had really good communal discussion with the board there. So that was a productive meeting.
arts board,
No updates.
anything from the fire department?
Fireworks went good. Just a little snafu with one of the control boxes went out. That's why there was a lull in the action.
Mhm.
So
And sheriff's report is attached.
Only one other thing I need to bring up is our August meeting falls on an election, primary election night, August 13th. I noticed that this afternoon. So I'd like to get a,
So the polls close at 8.
polls close at 8. So I didn't.
So does that work can we start a meeting right at 8 or is that not physically possible?
You can.
You're asking, is it legally possible? I believe you can. We could double check. But so your options would be either to move it to a different night or have it 8 o'clock.
Mhm.
But if we're going to have all this, if we're going to have those nuisance hearings,
Hmm.
do we want to have them that late, or would we rather have them on a different day at a 7 o'clock meeting?
Can nuisance hearings happen during the election?
Yeah,
It's just, I mean, it,
To the 14th, the day back.
Um,
Or just the following week.
That's kind of late for paying
it
bills.
gives,
I was gonna say the 20th is a little late for paying bills, but if we could do something that week,
gives people an extra week to get their house torn down.
going to take a,
Yeah, I think the 14th could work. I know
Wednesday, the 14th at 7 PM.
churches do a lot of their stuff on Wednesdays, but anybody have problems with the 14th?
Are you you okay with that one, Craig?
Actually, I'll be gone that whole week, I think, so.
Oh.
Corinne will be on.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, she'll be going
back.
too.
Is she back
That
then?
big meeting. Might need a little legal here.
Corinne will have to bat,
Replace you.
which is totally fine. She's done
It's to
more
say
of the
that's-
nuisance stuff in recent years than I have.
That's kind of her,
Yeah.
she's the one I've been in contact the most with, I think, so.
All right, I'll make a motion to move our meeting to 7 PM on the, was it 14th? Motion and a second to move the meeting to 7 PM on the 14th, Wednesday. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Anybody else have any business for us? Were the mosquito sprayers gonna schedule a date?
I was thinking about that this afternoon. No, have they called? I haven't seen an email for them to reschedule at all.
They haven't called.
We'll get a hold of them tomorrow.
Just let them know.
We've had a hatch, so, and, so yeah, we'll give them a call tomorrow.
Napalm some gnats instead.
It's in the
Wish they
gnats.
could.
That's a worse.
Wish they could.
The gnats have been
Go
really
to
bad.
Farm Charm and get your vanilla.
Vanilla bean roll.
Little plug for you.
It worked in Costa Rica. Just saying.
Put that in the minutes.
All right. Hearing nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.